Hello and welcome to 5-Year Club video number 143. I wanted to talk about that article that I mentioned in video 142, but I didn't get a chance today. So instead, I'm going to tell you my beef with the 50-20-30 rule. The 50-20-30 rule was popularized most recently, or at least most popularly, surprise, surprise, by Elizabeth Warren in her book All Your Worth back in 2005. Many people mention that book when they mention how they learned about this rule. I think Elizabeth Warren is great, especially her work with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And I'm really bummed about recent efforts to weaken that bureau because I think it does a lot of valuable work to protect people against crappy private financial actors. But I don't particularly like the 50-20-30 rule. Why? Number one, 50%. Oh, what is the 50-20-30 rule? 50% on your needs, 20% on debt pay down or savings, and 30% on wants of your take-home pay. That's what the rule is. So it is a percentage division of your take-home pay. Number one, 50% on wants may be reasonable for people making, say, less than $80,000 a year. At least I'm thinking in California dollars. In other states, it's going to stretch further, so 80,000 is a bit high. So you can probably get away with, say, 60,000. But point is, for 81.8% of people, this needs rule is okay. But for that top 19 or 20%, you should be able to spend less than 50% of your take-home pay on needs. And you should figure that out. Because what tends to happen is people spend, 60% on needs, 65% on needs, 70% on needs. And then hedonic adaptation means that extra money spent beyond 50% on needs isn't really making them any happier. And my goal is for you to be as happy as possible with your money. So if you're making above $80,000 a year in California and probably $60,000 a year in other states, really look at whether your budget is above 50% on needs, and if you can cut it back so that you can get those needs below 50%, I strongly feel that your happiness will not suffer in the long run if you do that. Now for the 20% part. If you are in debt, 20% of your income spent on that debt is not enough. It needs to be everything that you can possibly throw at it is what you need to put towards your debt. Debt is incredibly damaging to your future because it completely cripples the cash flow that you need for your future. It completely cripples your eventual net worth. That gives you freedom for the future, and it's so easy to not pay it down early and to keep suffering from those problems. And so I would say, no matter what the spreadsheet says, if you have consumer debt in your life, beyond the mortgage, pay it down as fast as possible. Put every dollar towards it. Sell stuff. Get rid of the debt because it's incredibly toxic to everything you want to do for the rest of your life. And that's why I'm not a fan of this 20% rule, because I think that it is not aggressive enough, certainly on the debt pay down. Savings, long-term savings, 20%. If you have to retire and save money for kids' college, 20% is probably a little bit low, but since the national savings rate is like 5%, I probably can't complain too much about 20% on the savings rate side of things. The 30% is my biggest problem with this rule. Why? Because I don't think that spending money equates to happiness. And I think that when you create a rule that says spend 30% of your take-home pay on happiness, you're doing people a big disservice. There is so much happiness that people can get without spending money, that we can get from the stuff that we already have, that we can get from the people around us. And we hear all the time, spend this extra money so you can be happier. Spend this extra money on a vacation, on makeup, on a gaming system, on jewelry, on a Snuggie, whatever it is. We hear that stuff all the time. We don't hear often enough, you should be trying to milk more happiness from your existing stuff. That's not to say I don't think you should spend any money outside of the needs category. for example, like plane tickets to see your family, I think that that's really important. And so, yeah, you should do that. But for a lot of the, want spending that people do, I think it's a waste, because I think they could find just as much happiness thinking about how to get more happiness from the stuff they already have. And finally, I'd just like to point out that if you put that want category towards debt pay down or savings, you're going to reach financial independence faster, and you're going to free up your cash flow faster. And that is going to make a lot of the complaining about want category spending irrelevant, because you have freed up so much more income, or because you have achieved a net worth where you don't really have to worry about retirement anymore. What's a better rule than 50-20-30? Learn to push yourself harder. That's my rule. Push yourself harder. Whatever you're doing now, find the extra 5% to do even more. And over time, you're going to find that 5% turns into 50%. And when you've improved by 50%, things become amazing. All right, that's it for 5-Year Club video number 143. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a fabulous evening.